The unassuming professional. A dimly lit street. A woman walking alone. 5 motorcycles surround her like sharks circling prey. What happens next will change everything these men thought they knew about judging a book by its cover. Before we dive into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from. Maria Chen wiped down the counter one final time, her movements efficient and precise. The diner was empty now, fluorescent lights reflecting off the polished surfaces. Through the windows, darkness had settled over the small town of Riverdale. "You heading out, Maria?" called Doris from the kitchen, her gray hair peeking through the service window. "Yes, ma'am. All locked up and ready to go. You want Frank to walk you home? It's awful late." Maria smiled. "I'll be fine. It's just a few blocks. Suit yourself, honey. See you tomorrow." The night air carried a chill as Maria pulled her worn denim jacket tighter. Headlights from passing cars occasionally illuminated her path, casting long shadows that stretched and disappeared. At 35, Maria blended into the background of small-town life. Just another hard-working woman making ends meet. The perfect anonymity she'd sought after leaving her previous life behind. No one at the diner knew that beneath her quiet demeanor and capable hands lay the training and experience of Lieutenant Maria Chen, formerly of Navy SEAL Team 6. 3 tours of duty, 2 Purple Hearts, 1 life she'd left behind 3 years ago. The street narrowed as she turned onto Maple Avenue, the route dimmer here with several streetlights burned out. The town's budget cuts showing in the darkened patches between pools of yellow light. The rumble came first, a low, mechanical growl that broke the evening silence. Maria's posture shifted imperceptibly, her gait remaining casual while her senses heightened. 5 motorcycles appeared, circling her with deliberate slowness. She kept walking, eyes forward, assessing options. 5 men, multiple directions, limited cover. The lead motorcycle cut in front of her path, forcing her to stop. The rider, a heavy-set man with a graying beard and arms covered in faded tattoos, removed his helmet and smiled. "Well, look what we found, boys." His voice carried the rasp of too many cigarettes. "Little lady out all alone." The other riders dismounted, forming a loose semicircle around her. Maria counted quickly. 5 men, varied builds, the patches on their leather jackets identifying them as the Road Demons, a local gang that had been causing trouble around town for months. "I don't want any trouble," Maria said quietly, her voice steady. "Just heading home." The leader stepped closer, towering over her 5'6" frame. His breath smelled of whiskey and stale smoke. "Hear that, boys? She doesn't want trouble." Laughter rippled through the group. "Name's Vince. This here's our territory, sweetheart. There's a toll for crossing." Maria kept her expression neutral, betraying none of the tactical calculations running through her mind. "Please, let me pass." "Oh, she's polite," mocked a skinny man with a snake tattoo crawling up his neck. "I like that. Maybe she'll be nice enough to hand over her wallet, too." Vince stepped closer. "Purse, phone, jewelry, now." "I don't have much," Maria replied, maintaining eye contact. 3 years in civilian life hadn't dulled her ability to read threats. The Lido was cocky, overconfident. The one on her left kept touching something in his pocket, knife, likely. The others were followers, dangerous only in numbers. "Then we'll take what you got," Vince said, grabbing her arm. Maria allowed the contact, feeling his fingers dig into her jacket sleeve. In her SEAL days, he'd already be on the ground. Now she hesitated. Violence meant attention, questions, her cover potentially blown. "Last chance," she warned quietly. Vince laughed, yanking her closer. Or what? Sweetheart? Your choice, Maria sighed. In one fluid motion, she broke his grip using a technique perfected through years of close combat training. Vince stumbled backward, surprise replacing his arrogance. What the? He started, confusion flooding his face as he regained his balance. Just walk away, Maria suggested, her stance shifting subtly, feet balanced, hands relaxed but ready. Vince's face reddened. Did her! The snake-tattooed man lunged forward while another approached from her right. Maria sidestepped with practiced precision, using the first attacker's momentum to send him crashing into his companion. Both men tumbled to the pavement, cursing as they collided. You little, Snake Tattoo spat, scrambling to his feet. Maria remained centered, her breathing controlled. The third biker, younger than the others, with a patchy beard, pulled a switchblade from his pocket. The metallic click echoed in the night air. Put that away, Maria warned. You don't want to escalate this. Shut up, he snarled, slashing the knife through the air in wild, unpracticed movements. Maria tracked the blade's arc, timing her response. When he lunged, she deflected his wrist with her forearm, twisted, and disarmed him with a technique taught in her first week of SEAL training. The knife clattered to the ground as he howled in pain. Vince and the remaining biker charged simultaneously. Maria dropped into a defensive stance, muscle memory taking over. She caught Vince's punch, used his momentum to spin him into his friend, then swept both men's legs from beneath them. Within seconds, all 5 men were on the ground, groaning in confusion and pain. Who the hell are you? Vince managed, blood trickling from his nose where he'd hit the pavement. Before Maria could respond, the flash of red and blue lights painted the scene. A police cruiser pulled alongside the group, its spotlight illuminating the fallen bikers. Officer Jenkins stepped out, hand resting casually on his holster. His eyes widened slightly as he surveyed the scene. Everything all right here, ma'am? He asked, though his expression showed he already knew the answer. Just a misunderstanding, Maria replied calmly. Jenkins moved closer, recognition slowly dawning on his face. Wait! Lieutenant Chen! Navy, right? Maria stiffened. How did you... I was Marines, 2nd Battalion, Kandahar, 2018. Jenkins smiled. Never forget a face, especially one from Joint Ops training. Those were some impressive moves. Still got it, I see. Expressions transformed from pain to shock as they processed this new information. You're military? Snake Tattoo asked incredulously. Was, Maria corrected. Navy SEAL, Team 6. Now I just serve coffee and pie at Denny's. Vince staggered to his feet, disbelief written across his face. You're lying. There ain't no female SEALs. Officer Jenkins chuckled. There are now, buddy, and you just picked a fight with one of the best. He turned to Maria. You want to press charges? Assault? Attempted robbery? Maria shook her head. I think they've learned their lesson. Jenkins nodded, then addressed the bikers. I'm still running all your IDs, and if I hear about any retaliation against Miss Chen here, I'll personally make sure you regret it. As Jenkins collected their information, the youngest biker couldn't stop staring at Maria. How'd you, you flipped Vince like he was nothing. He's twice your size. Leverage, not strength, Maria replied. Anyone can learn it. Could I learn that? He asked quietly, glancing nervously at his companions. Maria studied him, barely 20, trying to look tough, but clearly in over his head. Find better friends first. Then, maybe take some self-defense classes. After the police finished, Maria continued her walk home, her posture relaxed but alert. The confrontation had stirred something she'd tried to leave behind. The rush of action, the clarity that came with danger. Her apartment was small but neat, military precision evident in the perfectly made bed and organized shelves. A single photo sat on her nightstand. Maria in uniform with her team, their faces blurred for security, except for hers. She changed into sweatpants and a faded navy t-shirt, then methodically prepared a cup of tea. The routine helped settle her mind, but the encounter had shaken loose memories she'd carefully packed away. 3 years of quiet anonymity, disrupted in an instant. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Saw your handiwork tonight. Impressive as ever, Lieutenant. We should talk. Commander Ellis." Maria stared at the screen, her hand tightening around the phone. Commander Ellis had been her CO on her final mission, the one that had sent her into civilian life seeking peace. She set the phone down without responding and moved to the window, watching the quiet street below. Her cover was blown. Tomorrow, the whole town would know. The question was, what would she do now? 20 minutes later, Maria's phone buzzed again. Another text from Ellis. "I'm in town. Coffee tomorrow, 0900 Riverdale Cafe." Maria placed the phone face down on her nightstand. Sleep would be difficult tonight. By morning, word had spread through Riverdale. When Maria arrived for her shift, Doris greeted her with wide eyes. "Why didn't you tell us you were some kind of special forces superhero?" Maria sighed. "Because I'm not. Not anymore." The diner was unusually busy. Customers kept stealing glances at her as she refilled coffee cups. Some looked impressed, others skeptical. "Heard you took down the whole Road Demons gang single-handed," said Bill, a regular who always ordered the same breakfast. "That true?" "Exaggerated," Maria replied, pouring his coffee. At precisely 0900, Commander Ellis entered the diner. Still fit at 50, his military bearing unmistakable despite the civilian clothes. Maria's stomach tightened as he sat at the counter. "Lieutenant," he nodded. "Just Maria now." She poured his coffee without asking. "Why are you here? Can we talk somewhere private?" During her break, they sat in his rental car. "We need you back, Chen," Ellis said without preamble. "Short-term consulting. 3 months, training new recruits in hand-to-hand combat." Maria stared out the windshield. "I left for a reason. Kuala Lumpur wasn't your fault." Ellis's voice softened. The intelligence was bad. No one could have known those civilians were in the building. Maria's jaw tightened. 8 people, Ellis. 2 children. We've all got ghosts. His eyes met hers. Question is whether you let them haunt you or use what you know to make sure it doesn't happen to others. I'm done fighting. From what I heard last night, fighting isn't done with you. Maria watched a family enter the diner. Parents with a young daughter. The girl waved at her through the window. "You're good at what you do, Chen. Always were. These recruits need someone who understands both the physical skills and the cost of using them." Maria closed her eyes. "I need time to think." "Fair enough. I'm here until Friday." Ellis handed her a card. "And Maria, for what it's worth, I think you're wasting your talents here." The day dragged on, each customer bringing variations of the same questions. By closing time, Maria felt drained in a way that physical exertion never achieved. She declined Doris's offer of a ride home. She needed the walk to clear her head. The route took her past the same spot where last night's confrontation occurred. She paused, replaying the sequence of movements in her mind. The muscle memory had remained intact, her body responding with the precision she'd spent years perfecting. A motorcycle engine rumbled in the distance. Maria tensed, then forced herself to relax as a single bike approached. It was the youngest biker from the previous night, slowing as he spotted her. He stopped several feet away, raising both hands to show he meant no harm. I wanted to apologize, he said, removing his helmet. His face looked younger in daylight, barely out of his teens. What we did wasn't right. Maria studied him carefully. Why are you with them? He shrugged, looking down. Doesn't feel like there's much else in this town. Vince gave me a place to belong. There are better places. Maybe. He shifted uncomfortably. That stuff you did? The fighting? You really learned that in the Navy? Maria nodded. I enlisted last week, he blurted out. Ship out for basic in a month. Marines. Something softened in Maria's expression. What's your name? Jason. The Marines are a good branch, Jason. But remember something. What you learn there isn't for terrorizing people on streets. She met his eyes. It's for protecting them. He nodded solemnly. Yes, ma'am. After he rode away, Maria continued walking, her thoughts churning. For 3 years, she'd hidden her skills, buried her past. Now that it was exposed, she felt oddly lighter. At home, she opened her closet and pulled out a small lockbox. Inside lay her service medals, photographs, and a letter she'd written but never sent to the families in Kuala Lumpur. She ran her fingers over the Navy SEAL trident pin. The weight of it in her palm felt both familiar and foreign. Her phone buzzed with a text from Doris. Some reporter called the diner asking about you. Told him we don't discuss our employees, just FYI. News traveled fast in small towns. By tomorrow, her quiet life would be irrevocably changed. Maria picked up Ellis's card, turning it over in her fingers. Maybe the commander was right. Maybe it was time to stop running from who she was. She dialed his number. Ellis. 3 years ago, she'd walked away from a failed mission with blood on her hands. Now, she might have a chance to ensure others didn't make the same mistakes. It's Chen, she said quietly. About that training position. 6 months later, Maria stood in the training facility at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado, watching as recruits grappled on the mats. Her uniform felt strange after years in civilian clothes, but her voice carried the same authority it always had. Reset. Proper form, Matthews. Control your opponent's momentum. The young woman nodded, adjusting her stance before attempting the takedown again. Commander Ellis appeared at Maria's side. The Secretary of Defense will be observing tomorrow's demonstration. Think your team is ready? They will be, Maria answered. These recruits were different from her previous team, more diverse, including several women. The military was changing, slowly but surely. During a break, one of the female recruits approached her. Lieutenant Chen, is it true you took down 5 gang members by yourself in some small town? Maria smiled. The story had grown with each telling. Focus on your training, petty officer. Stories won't help you in the field. As the recruits filed out, Ellis lingered. You've done good work here, Chen. The program's seeing the highest completion rates since inception. They're good kids. They have a good instructor. He hesitated. Pentagon's offering you a permanent position. Special Combat Training Division. Your own program. Maria watched the last recruits leave the training floor. For years, she'd tried to escape who she was, what she could do. Now she'd found purpose in sharing those skills, tempering them with the hard lessons she'd learned. The ghosts of Kuala Lumpur would always be with her. But maybe, through these recruits, she could ensure other civilians were saved instead. I'll take it, she said. Ellis nodded, a slight smile breaking his usually stern expression. I'll let them know. That evening, Maria checked her phone and found a message from Officer Jenkins back in Riverdale. Thought you'd want to know. The Road Demons disbanded last month. Word is your former apprentice Jason is doing well in basic. Maria smiled. Small victories. As she prepared for the next day's demonstration, Maria reviewed her lesson plan. The secretary's visit meant scrutiny, but also opportunity. Her program emphasized not just physical techniques, but ethical decision-making under pressure. The lessons she wished she'd had before Kuala Lumpur. At 0600, she was already on the training floor, centering herself. The facility was quiet, dawn just breaking through the high windows. "Lieutenant," came a voice from the doorway. A young woman in uniform stood there, one of her most promising recruits. "Ramirez, you're early." "Couldn't sleep, ma'am." "Nervous about the demonstration?" Maria gestured to the mat. "Show me your form sequence." As Ramirez moved through the defense patterns, Maria made slight corrections to her stance, her hand position. "Remember, it's not about strength," she explained. "It's about leverage, timing, and most importantly, knowing when not to engage at all." Ramirez completed the sequence, breathing hard. "Ma'am, can I ask you something personal?" Maria hesitated, then nodded. "Is it true what they say about why you left active duty?" There was a time when the question would have sent Maria retreating behind walls of silence. Now, she met the young woman's eyes. "Yes, bad intelligence led to civilian casualties on my watch." Maria's voice remained steady. "That's why I teach decision-making alongside technique. The most important combat skill is knowing when to hold back." By afternoon, all eyes were on Maria's program. The Secretary of Defense watched as her recruits demonstrated techniques that had saved Maria's life in the field. Each movement precise, each decision calculated. When asked to speak, Maria stepped forward. "The skills these sailors are learning aren't just about winning fights," she said. "They're about making right choices under impossible pressure. About knowing that the strongest warrior isn't the one who defeats every opponent, but the one who knows which battles to fight." After the demonstration, the secretary shook her hand. "Impressive program, Lieutenant. The Pentagon will be expanding it next year." That evening, Maria checked her phone to find a text from Doris. "Diner's not the same without you, but we're proud as punch seeing you on the news. Your regular booth will always be waiting." Another message appeared from Jason. "Graduated basic today. Drill instructor said my hand-to-hand was surprisingly competent. Thanks for showing me there's more to strength than intimidation." Maria smiled, remembering the frightened young man on a motorcycle. People could change. She had. In her quarters, Maria opened her journal, writing the day's entry. 3 years ago, she'd hidden her abilities, ashamed of what they had cost. Now she understood that her true strength wasn't in what she could do, but in what she could teach others. Sometimes our greatest gifts aren't meant to be hidden, but shared, especially when they come with hard-won wisdom about their use. 3 years after returning to service, Maria stood at the edge of the training ground, watching her newest class of recruits. Behind her, Commander Ellis approached with a familiar file. "Remember this?" he asked, handing her the Kuala Lumpur report. Maria nodded, the weight of it lighter now than before. "The techniques you developed have reduced civilian casualties by 68%, Ellis said. "The Chen Protocol is now standard training." Later that evening, Maria drove to the small memorial garden she'd helped establish for the victims of that failed mission. 8 stones, 2 smaller than the others. She placed fresh flowers before each one. "I promised to make it right," she whispered. "I hope I have." Her phone buzzed. A photo from Jason in his dress uniform, now a decorated Marine sergeant. In Riverdale, the diner had framed a newspaper article about their famous former waitress. Doris still told customers about the night bikers learned not to judge people by appearances. Maria had finally stopped hiding her strength and found purpose in passing it on. A quiet warrior whose greatest victory wasn't in combat, but in teaching others when not to fight at all. Some gifts aren't meant to be hidden away in shame, but shared with those who need them most.